The stars in the galaxy had been silent for 1,000 years. Peace had reigned, a fragile but enduring peace that stretched across the universe. Humankind had prospered in the quiet, their world had healed, and they had expanded their reach across the stars. The galaxy was calm, no enemy in sight, no threats looming. The Council of the Galactic Nations had been formed, and for a millennium, it was all they needed. Yet, all that was about to change. The arrival came without warning. The sensors on Earth's defense grid, usually quiet, suddenly flared to life with an alert so intense it couldn't be ignored. A fleet, unlike any human ships had ever seen, was approaching fast. Their sleek ships, unlike anything made by Earth's engineers, glided through space with terrifying speed and grace. No communication was sent, no message of peace or threat, only their presence, and that was enough to send a shockwave through the hearts of everyone who knew what that meant. In the control room of Earth's command center, General Lee stared at the blipping red dots on the monitor. The alien ships were closing in on Earth's space station. He couldn't make out the details. Too many new, unfamiliar signals flooded the screen. They weren't like anything they had encountered before. The ships didn't belong to any of the known factions. They weren't from the Xelarians, nor the Falzians or any of the others who had dared to test humanity in the past. These ships, sleek and dark, had no markings, no identifiers. They were pure mystery, and that mystery was rapidly becoming a threat. "Sir, what do we do?" asked a young officer, his face pale and his hands trembling as he kept his eyes on the screen. "We need orders." General Lee didn't answer immediately. His mind raced. His heart was calm, but his mind was sharp, calculating. There was no time for a decision to be made in the council. The invasion, or whatever this was, had arrived too quickly. His fingers hovered over the controls, 1,000 scenarios running through his mind. This wasn't an attack yet, but he could feel it in his bones. This was the beginning of something he didn't fully understand. "We make contact. Prepare the communication channels. Have the fleet on standby, but no aggression unless it's necessary," he ordered. His voice was firm, though doubt gnawed at the edges. This was too sudden, too unexpected. As the technicians worked, General Lee leaned back in his chair, his gaze fixed on the flashing red dots. Then, as if answering his thoughts, a strange signal flared on his console. An incoming transmission. It wasn't from a ship they recognized. The frequency was alien, literally. The strange pattern of energy came through, sharp and jarring. A voice came through, speaking in an ancient dialect of a language humans had never heard before. The words were unintelligible, a rapid flow of sound that felt alien, cold, and distant. The room fell silent. Everyone was listening, waiting. And then, the voice stopped. The transmission ended. The room was still. "What the hell was that?" someone whispered. Before Lee could answer, the lights flickered in the command center. The ground beneath them rumbled. The fleet was drawing closer, their ships moving in perfect unison, an impossible show of coordination. It wasn't just their approach that was causing the tremors. It was something else, something far more ominous. General Lee stood up quickly, his hand resting on the edge of the table. He had spent his entire career preparing for a situation like this. 1,000 years of peace had been just that. Peace. Now he had to act. The first shots had yet to be fired, but the question hung heavy in the air. Were they coming in peace, or was this the beginning of an unstoppable war? "We need to prepare for anything," he said, his voice now resolute. He wasn't sure what was happening, but he knew this was the moment that would change everything. "Get the fleet in position. Stand ready." Meanwhile, aboard the alien ship, the crew moved with quiet precision. The ship was massive, larger than any human vessel, yet it moved with a deadly grace. The walls hummed softly as if alive, and the soft light from the ship's core bathed the darkened halls. Inside the command center of the alien vessel, a tall figure stood with arms crossed, staring at the monitor before them. Their face was obscured, but the presence was unmistakable. It was a being of authority, someone who had no time for weakness or hesitation. The ship's systems hummed in sync with the unspoken orders of this commander. "They are ready," the commander spoke in a deep, resonant voice, though it was translated into the human tongue on their screens. A subordinate, whose skin was a pale gray and whose eyes were large and glimmering with intelligence, nodded. "Shall we initiate contact?" The commander's gaze never shifted from the screen, watching the human defenses take position. "No, let them come to us. Let them feel the weight of their decision to remain in their slumber for so long. Let them remember the cost of their peace." The subordinate didn't question the command, but a flicker of confusion crossed their face. "But they are not prepared. They will be caught off guard. Should we not engage immediately?" The commander's voice was firm. "They are not prepared. And that is why we will wait. A planet's resolve is often tested at the moment of impact. We will not be the ones to act first. Let them make the first move." Back on Earth, General Lee's mind raced with the gravity of what was happening. The sudden arrival of the alien fleet wasn't a coincidence. He could feel it. Something was different. He wasn't just facing an invasion. He was facing an unknown threat unlike any humanity had ever encountered. And so, as the alien ships drew nearer and the clock ticked down, a decision loomed in the hearts of humankind. Would they stand ready for what came next, or would they crumble under the weight of this mysterious arrival? In the cold void of space, both sides waited, suspended in uncertainty. Their next actions would set the stage for the future of the galaxy. Peace or war, survival or destruction. In that moment, the unknown alien force held the fate of humanity in its hands. The tension in the command center was palpable. General Lee stood at the center of the room, his eyes flicking from the monitor to the faces of his officers. Every technician, every officer, was silently awaiting orders, all of them holding their breath in anticipation. The alien fleet was moving closer, slowly but surely, as if they were intentionally savoring the moment. The eerie stillness of space around them gave a sense of foreboding. 1,000 years of peace had led to this moment, an unknown enemy standing at their doorsteps, and Earth had no choice but to face it. "Sir," a voice from the communication station called out. It was Officer Harris, his voice trembling slightly. "The alien ships are. They've stopped. They've just stopped in place. No more movement." The general's face tightened with concern. "What does that mean? Are they waiting for something?" I don't know, sir. They're still in position, but no further transmissions have been sent. It's like they're just observing us," Harris replied. General Lee's mind raced. Every military strategy he had studied, every invasion he had prepared for, didn't include this kind of hesitation. Alien species, from what they knew, were aggressive or at least clear about their intentions. But this was something completely new. These ships, these invaders, weren't acting like any enemy he had ever encountered. The silence was unsettling. It almost felt like a test. "Get me the fleet commanders," General Lee said, his voice resolute. "Prepare the fighters for launch, but don't engage unless we're fired upon. We don't want to make the first move, but we have to be ready for anything." His orders were quickly followed. Crews scrambled, and tension filled the air as Earth's military forces began to ready their defenses. Fighters were prepped and armed, but still, the alien ships made no move to engage. It was as if they were waiting, watching. For what? That was the question everyone in the room had. Back on the alien ship, the commander stood silently, watching the Earth fleet as it began to mobilize. They had expected a response, but they had not expected it to come so quickly. Earth's military might have been underestimated, or perhaps it was merely a precautionary move. The commander's figure remained still as a report came in from one of their subordinate officers. "The human fleet is preparing for battle," the officer said, though it was clear from their tone that they weren't particularly surprised. "It appears they intend to defend themselves." The commander's face was unreadable. Let them. It will make no difference. The officer hesitated. But, Commander, we are vastly outnumbered. Their fleet is prepared. The humans seem to be ready for a fight. Should we not begin our engagement? No, the commander replied firmly, their voice low but commanding. We wait. But why? The officer's confusion was evident. If we don't strike now, they might make the first move. The commander finally turned to face the officer, their eyes glowing with an unsettling calm. The humans will react. They always do. They are predictable. We need to let them make the first move. It will give us the advantage. They have no idea who they are dealing with. The officer nodded slowly, though a tinge of doubt still lingered in their expression. There was a clear tension in the air, but they had their orders. The commander's certainty was unsettling, but it also had a chilling sense of authority. Whatever this commander had planned, they were confident in their ability to win. Back on Earth, General Lee received a call from the higher-ups in the Council of the Galactic Nations. His face was grim as he took the call, knowing that this would be the moment when decisions had to be made quickly, and the consequences of those decisions could be dire. General, what's the situation? The voice on the other end was stern, a council representative speaking with urgency. We're still in a standoff, sir. The alien ships have stopped. They're not moving. We've prepared our fleet, but they haven't fired a single shot. The council representative paused before speaking again. This is unprecedented. There's no record of any species acting in this manner. We need to prepare for the worst, but we also need to be cautious. Do not provoke them unless absolutely necessary. I understand, General Lee replied, though a sense of frustration was building within him. But what if they don't intend to talk? What if they're waiting for us to make a move? That is exactly why we need to remain calm. We don't know what they want, but we can't afford to act rashly. The peace treaty may have been broken, but that doesn't mean we should throw everything into war without understanding the full picture. The words were clear, but they offered little comfort. General Lee knew that peace could only last so long. He had always been prepared for an attack, but this felt different. He had seen enemies before, enemies who wanted to destroy. But these aliens weren't acting like an army bent on conquest. No, they were something else. Their restraint was more terrifying than any attack, and it made Lee wonder, what were they waiting for? The officer at the communications station broke his thoughts. General, the fleet is ready. We've got fighter squads waiting for orders. Lee nodded. Keep them on standby. If anything changes, we'll be ready. As the minutes passed in silence, the room was tense, each person watching the monitor, waiting for any sign of movement from the alien fleet. They had been on high alert for hours, and yet nothing had changed. The unknown enemy remained silent, as if watching and waiting for something, just as they had been since their arrival. Far above Earth, in the depths of the alien ship, the commander stood still, observing the fleet that surrounded their vessel. Their hand rested lightly on a console, but their mind was elsewhere. The humans, they had believed, would be predictable, easy to engage. But this was new. Their tactics were calculated, and the human resolve was stronger than they anticipated. The commander's lips curled slightly. The humans may have been unprepared, but this would be the test of their true strength. Would they stand their ground, or would they fall to the unknown forces that now hovered over them? And so, the stage was set. Both sides waited in the eerie stillness of space, and the clock ticked toward the unknown. A decision would come soon. A decision that would determine not only Earth's fate, but the fate of the galaxy itself. As the standoff between the human fleet and the alien invaders continued, the tension in the command center reached a fever pitch. General Lee paced back and forth, his eyes never leaving the monitor that displayed the alien fleet suspended just outside Earth's atmosphere. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing on him. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and it could all be over. But still, the aliens had made no move. They were silent, ominously waiting. What are they waiting for? Lee muttered under his breath, his frustration growing. He had dealt with enemy forces before, but this was different. Their hesitation, their restraint, only made the situation more dangerous. It was like they were playing a game, and Lee wasn't sure what the rules were. The unknown made him uneasy, and the uncertainty gnawed at him. The officers around him, equally tense, watched the monitors intently. Nothing. No signs of communication from the alien ships. No movement. No weapon activation. It was as though they were waiting for the perfect moment to strike, or perhaps they were waiting for something else entirely. "General," Officer Harris called out, breaking the silence in the room. "We've detected a faint transmission coming from their fleet. It's not like anything we've seen before, but it's there." Lee's heart skipped a beat. "What does it say?" he asked quickly, his mind racing. "We can't decipher it fully yet," Harris replied, his fingers flying over the keyboard as he tried to translate the signals. "But it's unlike anything we've encountered in our previous interactions with alien species. The encoding is strange. It's almost like it's meant to confuse us." Lee frowned. He had expected communication, but this was far from what he had imagined. The idea of the aliens trying to confuse them only heightened his suspicions. Why send a message they didn't want them to understand? Why try to make things more difficult than they needed to be? "We need to know what they're saying," Lee ordered, his voice steady, though his mind was swirling with possibilities. "I don't care how long it takes. We need that message." Officer Harris nodded. "Yes, sir. We're working on it." Just as the team began analyzing the transmission, a voice echoed through the command center, cutting through the tension like a knife. It was a voice General Lee knew well. Admiral Turner, the commander of the Earth's space fleet. "General, we've got a problem," Turner said urgently over the communication system. "The alien fleet, it's moving. They're moving towards the planet. They're heading straight for us." General Lee's heart dropped. "What are they doing? Why now?" "We don't know, sir, but they've activated their engines. It looks like they're preparing to enter the atmosphere," Turner replied. "Get the fighters ready," Lee commanded immediately, his mind quickly shifting into battle mode. "We need to be ready for whatever comes next. This could be the beginning of the end, or it could be their last-ditch attempt at intimidation." The crew sprang into action. Fighters were quickly launched, and battle stations were activated. The entire command center was buzzing with activity, every person working with a single-minded focus as the alien ships drew nearer. The Earth fleet had never faced an enemy like this before, and now they had no choice but to face them head-on. But as the minutes ticked by, Lee couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The alien fleet had stopped again, just outside Earth's orbit, and now they were sitting there, motionless. The stillness only made the situation more unbearable. What were they waiting for? And then it happened. A sudden and unexpected transmission burst through the airwaves, loud and clear. The message wasn't encrypted this time, and it rang through the command center like a thunderclap. "You have been warned." The voice was deep and cold, almost mechanical. "We have waited for 1,000 years. Your time is up." General Lee's blood ran cold. The words hung in the air, chilling every person in the room. It was clear now. The aliens were not here for peace. They were here to conquer, and they had been planning this for far longer than anyone had imagined. "We will destroy you," the voice continued. "This is the price of your arrogance." The transmission abruptly cut off, leaving the room in stunned silence. The weight of the message was clear. Earth had been deceived. What they thought was a simple territorial dispute, what they had assumed was just another intergalactic conflict, was much, much worse. This wasn't about resources or space. This was about power, control, and the fall of a civilization that had enjoyed peace for far too long. General Lee's mind raced. He thought back to the words the alien commander had spoken earlier. "We have waited for 1,000 years. Your time is up." The message now took on a far darker meaning. The peace treaty Earth had enjoyed with the rest of the galaxy had been fragile, but they had never imagined it would end like this. The humans had become complacent, assuming they were untouchable, safe in their position in the galaxy. But they were wrong. The aliens weren't just making a threat. They were making a promise. The war had begun, and Earth had no choice but to fight for its survival. "General, we have to move," Officer Harris said, snapping Lee out of his thoughts. "The fleet is ready. The alien ships are continuing their descent. They're entering the atmosphere." Lee took a deep breath and gave the order. "All ships, prepare to engage. We're not going down without a fight. They want war. They'll get it." As the Earth fleet mobilized, the alien ships began to descend. Their massive forms loomed overhead, casting a shadow over Earth as if signaling the beginning of the end. The humans had no idea what they were truly up against. The aliens had waited for this moment for 1,000 years, and they had no intention of letting Earth stand in their way. The battle was about to begin, and no one could predict how it would unfold. But one thing was certain. The peace that had lasted for a millennium had shattered, and the galaxy would never be the same again. "You said." The alien ships continued their slow descent, cutting through the atmosphere with an eerie silence. Earth's forces, now on high alert, were ready. The warships, equipped with cutting-edge technology, were prepared to defend their planet, but none of them had ever faced anything like this. The alien fleet, vast and intimidating, was something out of every human nightmare. General Lee stood at the front of the command center, his fingers clenched around the edge of the desk. His heart raced as he watched the monitors. Every instinct told him that this wasn't just an invasion. It was an annihilation. The aliens had been planning this for centuries, and now they were finally executing their plan. The stakes were higher than they'd ever been before. "Sir, the first wave is about to breach our atmosphere," Officer Harris said, his voice tight with urgency. "We've detected multiple energy signatures. They're charging their weapons." Lee didn't respond right away. His mind was racing, analyzing every scenario. "How long until we can counterattack?" he asked. 5 minutes, maybe less," Harris replied, scanning his screen. Lee nodded grimly. There was no time to waste. "Deploy all fighters. I want them in the air, full throttle. We're going to hit them before they hit us." The hum of activity in the command center intensified as the fighter jets launched from their hangars, slicing through the atmosphere in perfect formation. Their mission was clear: strike fast, strike hard, and throw the aliens off balance. Every pilot knew the risks. The odds were against them. But humanity had always risen to challenges like this. It was time to prove it once more. The first wave of alien ships, sleek and menacing, loomed large on the radar. Their shields were impenetrable, and their weapons were capable of reducing entire cities to ash with a single blast. But there was a small chance, just a glimmer of hope, that the Earth fleet could make a dent in their defenses. The aliens' arrogance had made them overconfident, and that might just be their downfall. "General, the aliens are not responding to our calls for peace," said Lieutenant Evans, standing beside Lee, her face tense. "They're locking onto us. We're going to be the first targets." Lee's jaw tightened. "Let them come," he said, more to himself than anyone else. "We're not backing down." The fighters reached the alien fleet first. A volley of laser fire shot through the air, striking the shields of the alien ships. The shields shimmered briefly, but absorbed the blasts without damage. The alien ships didn't even flinch. In response, they fired back. Blindingly bright beams of energy streaked across the sky, slamming into Earth's ships. The Earth fleet fought bravely, but it was clear this wasn't going to be an easy battle. The aliens' technology far surpassed humanity's. The fighters, although well-trained and equipped, were no match for the overwhelming firepower of the invaders. "Sir, we've lost 2 fighter squads already," Officer Harris reported. "They're not getting through." Lee gritted his teeth. He knew they had to do something drastic. The alien fleet was getting closer by the minute, and the longer they delayed, the more devastating the consequences would be. He turned to his team. Prepare the last resort weapon. If we can't hold them off, we'll have to take extreme measures. The tension in the room was palpable. Everyone knew that the weapon was Earth's final hope, an experimental device capable of harnessing the planet's core energy. If used correctly, it could take down the alien fleet, but there was no guarantee. And the side effects could be catastrophic. The weapon was a last-ditch effort, one that might cost them everything. Lieutenant Evans approached, her face drawn. General, we've picked up strange readings from the alien ships. It looks like they're... She paused as her screen flickered, trying to make sense of the data. Sir, they're not just attacking. They're communicating. A massive transmission is coming from their lead ship. It's encrypted, but it seems like they're sending a message to someone or something. Lee's heart skipped a beat. A message? What could they be saying? Evans shook her head. We don't know yet, sir, but the encryption is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's almost like it's meant to interfere with our systems. Damn it, Lee muttered under his breath. The alien fleet wasn't just here to fight. They were here for something bigger, something they hadn't anticipated. Whatever the message was, it was important. And it wasn't a good sign. As the seconds ticked away, the Earth fleet continued to engage the aliens. But it was clear they were losing ground. The alien ships hovered ominously, their weaponry reducing Earth's defenses to smoldering wreckage. Lee's chest tightened with the knowledge that they had very little time left. Then, without warning, the alien ships suddenly ceased fire. The entire battlefield fell silent. The Earth fleet, battered but still standing, hesitated, waiting for the next move. Were the aliens about to launch a final devastating assault? Or had something changed? The silence was broken by the same cold, mechanical voice that had spoken before. You have failed, it said, transmitting through every communication channel. We warned you. You were given 1,000 years of peace, and now you squander it. You will pay the price for your arrogance. Lee's blood ran cold as the voice continued. This is only the beginning. The war has just begun. The transmission ended abruptly. Lee stood motionless for a moment, absorbing the gravity of the message. The aliens weren't here for a simple conquest. They weren't just attacking Earth. They were planning something much larger. The words rang in his mind. This is only the beginning. The fate of humanity rested on the actions that would follow. The battle had just begun, but the true threat was still to come. And General Lee knew, deep down, that Earth's struggle for survival had only just begun. There was more to this invasion than anyone could have imagined. As the alien ships hovered in the sky, their vast fleet casting a shadow over Earth's defenses, the world held its breath. The battle was far from over, and what had started as a routine defense mission had now escalated into something far more dangerous. General Lee stared at the empty screen for a moment, his mind reeling from the alien transmission. This is only the beginning. Those words echoed in his mind, each syllable more chilling than the last. The ground troops, though fatigued and overwhelmed, were holding their positions. Earth's military had fought with bravery, but it was clear the aliens were not going to back down. With their superior technology and strength, the battle seemed more like a standoff, a matter of time before the Earth was forced into submission. The alien fleet was formidable, and the silence after their ominous message was like the calm before the storm. In the command center, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. The last resort weapon, Earth's only chance to counterattack, was still being prepped, but it wasn't ready yet. Every second that ticked by seemed like a lifetime, and Lee knew that they were running out of options. The alien ships were beginning to shift position, their movements deliberate, as if they were preparing for their next strike. General Lee paced back and forth, his mind racing. He had never seen anything like this before. An enemy that not only wanted to conquer, but was willing to wait for the perfect moment to deliver the final blow. The aliens had been patient for 1,000 years. What had they been waiting for? What was their true goal? Suddenly, the screen flickered, and a new transmission came through. This time, it wasn't the cold, calculating voice of the lead alien commander. This time, the message was more personal, more direct. It was a figure, a humanoid form, garbed in dark armor, its face hidden by a reflective visor. The figure spoke, its voice low and menacing, filled with an unspoken promise of destruction. "General Lee," the figure began, its voice sending a chill down Lee's spine. "You fought bravely, but it's over. Your world is ours. The peace you've enjoyed for 1,000 years was a mere illusion. Your species was never meant to thrive. You were meant to be subdued, ruled. And now you will see the price of your defiance." Lee's grip tightened on the edge of the desk. "We won't give in," he said, his voice resolute. "We'll fight until the very end." The alien figure tilted its head, as if contemplating the human's words. "You misunderstand," it said. "This war is not for your survival. It is for your extinction. The price you will pay will not be death. It will be much worse. We will strip away everything that makes you human. Your culture, your history, your very identity. You will become nothing more than a tool in our hands. And once you are ours, you will wish for death." The transmission cut off, leaving a cold emptiness in its wake. Lee's heart pounded in his chest, but he refused to let fear take over. He had made a promise to the people of Earth, and he would keep it. There had to be a way to turn the tide, to fight back against the overwhelming power of the aliens. Outside, the sky had darkened, and the alien fleet had begun their descent once more, preparing for the final phase of their attack. The sheer magnitude of their force was enough to break the spirit of any soldier. Yet, amidst the chaos, there was one glimmer of hope. Earth's last resort weapon was now ready. Lee turned to his team. "Activate the weapon. We don't have much time." The technicians scrambled to their stations, their faces pale with the weight of the decision. The weapon wasn't just powerful, it was dangerous. If it misfired or malfunctioned, it could destroy Earth along with the alien fleet. It was a gamble, one that could end either in humanity's salvation or its obliteration. As the countdown began, Lee's mind raced. He knew that this weapon was humanity's only chance. If they failed here, there would be no second chance. But the cost of using it was more than just a matter of destruction. It could change the very fabric of their world. With each passing second, the tension in the command center grew. The weapon was being primed, its immense power ready to be unleashed. The technicians were working at lightning speed, making final adjustments, ensuring that everything was in place. Lee could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The alien fleet was close now, their ships appearing in the sky like massive dark clouds. The sight was enough to strike fear into the hearts of even the most seasoned soldiers. Lee swallowed hard, but he refused to look away. He had to stay focused. The fate of Earth depended on what happened next. The countdown reached 0. A burst of light erupted from the ground, a beam of energy so intense that it tore through the atmosphere, creating a shockwave that rattled the air. The alien ships, caught in the path of the blast, were engulfed by the energy. For a moment, everything was silent. The sky was filled with the blinding light of the weapon's power. And then, nothing. The alien fleet had vanished. For a moment, there was no sound, no movement. The Earth forces stood in stunned silence, unsure of what had just happened. Had it worked? Had they destroyed the aliens, or had they only made things worse? General Lee could hardly believe his eyes. Slowly, the light began to fade, and when it did, the alien ships were gone. But something else lingered in the air, something ominous. The sky was empty, but the silence felt wrong. It was too still. Then the transmission came again. The same alien figure appeared on the screen, its visor gleaming in the darkness. "You think you've won?" it asked, its voice filled with malice. You've only delayed the inevitable. The war is far from over." And with that, the transmission ended. The battle had not been won. The war had only just begun.